Hey, everybody. Today's favorite topic is the weather. Imagine that. No, actually, it is the Weather Company, a fascinating organization behind the Weather Channel and other activities. Randy, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here and talking with you, Evan.
Well, thanks for being here. And you must have the most fun job in the world, CMO of the Weather Company. And for those who aren't familiar, yes, there is the Weather Company, long term part of IBM, now independent. But let me maybe introduce yourself and who is the Weather Company for those who not might not be aware.
Yes, and I agree. I think that I have the most fun and rewarding job out there. I'm so fortunate to have been part of this incredible company for now a few decades. But let me talk a little bit about the Weather Company for people who may not be familiar with us. Chances are you are familiar with our flagship consumer brand, Evan. You noted that the Weather Channel, where you likely have the Weather Channel app on your phone and are familiar with weather.com. That is a thriving part of our consumer business. What people may not recognize is that we have an entire enterprise portion to our business as well. So, in addition
Mm.
to providing the most accurate forecast to the nearly 360 million people who come to our digital properties every month, we help industries from aviation to marketing to media. Now, the defense space, for example, we help them really try to leverage the weather to make smarter decisions in their business. So I like to think of it as a B to B to C type company.
Oh, it's an amazing business, and we're going to dive deep into that. I'm so intrigued. But
Great.
let's talk about your audience. Who is it? And it's a massive audience, digital audience, broadcast audience. So, how do you think about that audience? How do you engage that audience from a marketing perspective?
Oh, I love that question. So we reach a lot of people. I mentioned earlier that I have the best job in the world. It's also a huge responsibility. We
Mm.
really pride ourselves on the fact that we're helping people no matter who they are. And I'll answer your question and acknowledge who they are and how we reach them. But no matter who they are, I think, the one thing that they have in common is that weather influences so many aspects of our life. Like, think about it from the minute that you wake up, and determining what you're going to wear, how you're going to get the kids ready for school and out of the house on time, to your commute to the office if you are going in, to your office, to when's the best time to travel, to more monumental decisions when it comes to you and your family's health and your safety. It's a big responsibility, and we pride ourselves on getting that right and constantly evolving to ensure that we get that right in the face of changing climate. In terms of who we reach, again, I'll start with all of you as individuals. We are a global brand, and we provide a global service to more than 300 countries. We pride ourselves on making that forecast available to whomever wants it, free of charge. We believe in democratizing weather data for the reasons I mentioned, and understanding the
Mm.
impact that it has on people's lives. And we reach our audience that audience in a variety of ways. Certainly, given the audience that we have already coming to us, we try to communicate to them and offer them additional features and upsell them within the experiences when they come to us. But we're also, I think, like so many businesses and so many brands, we're focused on reaching the next generation. And that's wherever they are. So, whether that's on social, whether that is through wearables, we really believe that we want to put weather in the path of wherever the consumer is. So that means, how do we forge partnerships and ensure that we're not a walled garden, but rather ensuring that the data is available to everyone? And then we're quite fortunate on the enterprise part of our business that we have a lot of great longstanding customers. I think I mentioned aviation before. If not, I'd be remiss not
Mm.
to mention aviation. We help more than 25,000 flights across the globe every day, with decisions that they have to make to ensure their operations and safe passage for their travelers. So the audience is vast, but and that requires a lot of different channels for us to be able to reach them in a way that is meaningful to them.
Wow, such a wonderful proposition. And you must get this question all the time, but accuracy of weather forecasts, the favorite thing we love to complain about on the local side. But how do you sort of behind the scenes look at accuracy and improving accuracy over time? It must be a lot of technology under the hood that's evolving and improving all the time.
Listen, it keeps us on our toes. I'll start there. I mean, accuracy first. Accuracy is paramount. It starts there. There's a lot of things that we're doing that goes beyond the forecast, but starting with having the most accurate forecast. This might sound like a marketing line. It's not. I'll back it up in a minute. That the way that we're ensuring accuracy is truly through a combination of human and machine. Some
Mm.
people like to say man and machine. I think that's quite a dated reference. Human and machine. And so it starts with having over 100 meteorologists that are part of the weather company. We
Wow.
recently just recognized World Meteorological Day. That is like the Super Bowl in our industry. Those are our MVPs, where they're the bedrock of our business. And Evan, it terrifies me. Little known fact, it terrifies me that there are many weather providers out there now. They don't even employ meteorologists. Um,
Wow.
yeah, like check your sources, right? Do your homework. I will not mention names here. That's not our style, but it starts with having humans and trained scientists who have really dedicated their life's work to looking at over 100 models. We don't rely just on one model. There's over
Mm.
100 weather models out there, including proprietary models of our own, that our meteorologists look at and are constantly kind of going in, we like to say, over the top of the models to put their own spin on it. So that we're not just taking one model and accepting that, but we're really digging in and doing our homework and extracting the appropriate context. And this is where the machine comes in. We've long used machine learning to help us do
Mm.
that. You couldn't think about it like we're producing, billions of forecasts every day. You couldn't do that without technology. It really requires the technology to help us extract the key insights and make sense of all of the data so that the meteorologists can come in over the top and make the most informed choices.
I love that. Fascinating. We could spend hours just on that, but alas, we only have a half an hour here.
Yeah.
Talk about the data side of the business. You mentioned industries like travel, agriculture,
Mhm.
and others. How do customers partner with you to leverage that data, and what are they getting from you exactly?
Yeah. So a few different things. And then I'm going to go back to your forecast question and the accuracy question in a minute. There's something exciting to talk about there. But as it relates to data, there's a few different ways that businesses can partner with us. First, straight forecast data. Again, I mentioned that the forecast is table stakes, but it has to start there. If a business is going
Mm.
to be able to make informed decisions, then we believe that that starts with having the most accurate forecast. And we have APIs, data APIs that are available across everything you could imagine, ranging from your traditional current conditions to forecasts, to things that are more specific, more targeted to data
Mm.
around air quality and different health APIs, things that are more historical in nature versus forward facing. You name it, we have APIs available that a business can leverage to really plug in to their existing infrastructure. Where I think
Wow.
it gets interesting and where the direction really that we're headed is data is great, but we're swimming in data. I mean, all of us, right? There's so
Mm.
much data that we really need to all as businesses, as consumers, that we have to comb through every day. And so the real value and where we're evolving and hopefully bringing additive value to our customers is going beyond the data and providing insights. So I like to think of it in the simplest terms is it's like it's the so what? What is the forecast telling us? What is the 40 years of historical data that we've amassed? What are the trends and the insights that we can extract so that we're not putting all of that computational responsibility on our customer, but we're doing it for them. And we actually, Evan, just released it's more in its beta form right now, but it is available. We released something earlier this year called the Weather Engine that does exactly that. It looks at all of our forecast data, as well as it can incorporate first party data that a company might give us, say their sales data, correlates it. So then it then gives really customized insights to a business, one, visibility into it. But I think more interesting is it gives someone an API coming out of that they can plug in, and whether they're interested in using it to drive decisions for marketing purposes, for supply chain, for inventory, for pricing, they really can make it
Wow.
available across their whole enterprise.
Wow, that's extraordinary. I had no idea what a value proposition that is. Speaking of technology, your career through IBM and the weather company, UPS going back a bit, you've thought a lot about customer experience and user experience, user interfaces on these digital platforms. How do you see yourself now, and what do you look at as sort of the next wave there when it comes to user experience? Are we all going to be watching the weather in our VR or Apple Pro Vision headsets, or what say you?
Gosh, so there's a few things that I'm particularly excited about that I think go beyond. I'm kind of a technology nerd, I will admit it, but we can all geek out on the latest things. Where I get excited is when we can think about how are we using technology in a way that um, is ultimately provides. It's not just a gimmick, but that is providing real user value at the end of the day. So when we think about kind of call it the next generation of weather, if you will, and how people are consuming that, I would put it into three buckets. The first, I'm going to go back to insights because I mentioned insights through the enterprise lens and the value that we can provide businesses. But think about it just from a consumer perspective. You open the app, you're getting your forecast, great. The cognitive load that someone has to go through is, say they're looking at their 10-day to try and make those decisions. And by the way, they probably are doing that while they're streaming their favorite TV show and trying to make dinner for their family. We want to be able to provide those insights at the consumer level also. So that, for example, I'm going to be traveling to New York this week. I want someone to tell me, like, it's going to be like not just look, I can look day by day and make the determinations, but this is going to be the sunniest day of the week. Expect rain on this day, kind
Mm.
of providing the context and the narrative beyond just the straight data. So I think that's area number one that you can certainly expect from us, that people can expect from us, is how do we go beyond the forecast and translate it, not only the forecast itself for those daily decisions, but translate it for what it means to all aspects of someone's life. We know that over like nearly 70% of people are checking the forecast nearly once a week to make a decision about their health. So, how are we
Mm.
extracting those insights and providing value in that thing? Okay, I mentioned there were three things. So, that's number one is more insights in addition to the straight data. The second thing that we're doing, you mentioned AR, is starting to experiment more with AR in our consumer experiences. So how are we actually trying to allow someone to picture their weather and what's in store for them,
Mm.
as forecast out? You can look out your window right now and get your current conditions. That's real time and obvious. But imagine you're planning your golf game. I'll use a fun example versus a severe weather example. Certainly more serious applications there, but you're trying to plan your golf game. We know that wind and rain are the big things that are going to affect someone's golf game.
Mm.
Imagine if you could actually see which way the wind was blowing. Most golfers now will go out into the course and pick up a piece of grass and they'll see which
Mm.
way it blows, right? To determine, how they should club selection. And I'm going to get on out over my skis if I keep talking too much about golf. But imagine being able to visualize that through an AR experience, and that's actually something that is coming that'll be coming to our app quite soon. So that's real. That's not future facing.
Fun.
The third thing that we can expect, I'm going to go kind of back to the enterprise space, is that we're working. I'm really excited. A new area that we're working in is in the defense space. And so, how are we going in and being able to provide real time weather that defense companies or our governments or military can use in their training and simulation exercises so that as soldiers and our armed forces are preparing, how are they doing that in real time conditions?
Wow.
So, how we're bringing weather into synthetic environments to make what I would call the most important decisions ever.
Important indeed. I can imagine that applying to first responders of all kinds. So, what a great proposition you have there.
Yeah.
Um,
We think of
and I,
synthetic environments and we all think of gaming, and that's certainly a fun application, right? And even in the golf example that I
Mhm.
held up, but really when it comes to our armed forces, when it comes to first responders, great use case. That goes back to my comment that if we can use technology for good and not just for a gimmick, then we're really fulfilling our mission.
I love it. And speaking of tech for good, you have a ton of educational content around environmental and sustainability issues and climate change, and also infotainment as well on the channel. How do you? That must be fun. How do you see content creation moving forward? Is that the bigger and bigger part of the business?
It has to be.
Hmm.
So we're very discerned. First of all, our kind of position on content is is really twofold. One, we've always looked at it as it's our position to provide the facts. And I have to mention that through the lens of climate, which should not be a polarizing topic, but is a
Mm.
polarizing topic. Um, we believe in the science. We let the science do the talking, and we are here to continue to do that in hopefully an unbiased way so that people understand not only that their climate is changing. Case in point, last year was the hottest year on record. No one can dispute that. But not only that it is changing, but why it's changing and how it might affect the next generation. We just recently, you and listeners might have seen that we just recently launched. We're so honored to be part of an initiative that the UNDP was leading called Weather Kids. That is really driven by a report that looks at climate change and the impact that if we do not take action now, what kids will be inheriting and their forecast in 2050. So it was kind of an interesting way to provide, um, really use our voice and use our brand reach to shine a light on this topic. Beyond climate, it goes back to what I was saying related to the insights. In addition to providing the data, we want to provide content, whether that is about your health, whether that's about your activities, your travel plans. We want to provide content that's going to round out that experience for our users. And so we're cognizant that we're not always going to be the experts in that content. So we really value partnerships with with third parties that we can bring in their content and what they do best, married with our forecast. That's what we do best to create that great user experience.
Fantastic. So speaking of partnerships, you had a fantastic run with IBM as part of the weather company, and now that you are independent of IBM, maybe reflect on that journey and what you hope this year in terms of new initiatives, partnerships, programs outside of IBM.
Yeah. So we were with IBM. We were part of IBM, fortunate to be part of IBM for over 7 years. And listen, I think that it was a great experience for us on a lot of levels. It's funny. Everyone's talking about AI like it's the new hot thing, and certainly we can all thank ChatGPT for that. But IBM has been a pioneer in AI and other advanced technologies for a long time, and we benefited from being a part of that, and our developers really being immersed in that world and how we could extract that value to improve our own offerings, whether that was our foundational forecasting, whether that is the experiences that we're building for I would say it gave us the expertise and the rigor that has positioned us really well now to be our own standalone company. And at this phase, we're just ready to move faster. We can be more nimble. And I think, it has given us the tools and it's given us the confidence where recently we just, we are fortunate to be part of NVIDIA's conference where they announced an expanded partnership with the weather company. We're working very closely with them to build a better picture of weather globally, how we are partnering to design the first high resolution AI-based weather prediction model.
Wow.
The simulation that I talked about earlier within the defense space, we're working with them on digital twins that pull in that actual weather that I mentioned into rather than synthetic data. So I think in short, IBM was great for us, and we're now ready to be unleashed.
Love it. Well, who knew the weather could be so exciting?
Yes.
What are you looking forward to the next month or two beyond, besides a nice spring weather? What's on your agenda, travel wise, otherwise?
Uh, Gosh, is it nice spring weather? I think that's all. I think that's relative, Evan, depending on where you live. It's crazy. I listen. I'm looking forward. I to moving faster with some of the innovations that
Mm,
I've teased here. Another thing that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention is that we're constantly evolving our Weather Channel app. We recently launched
mm,
a new version of the Weather Channel app. We're slowly rolling it out to our audience because you can imagine when you have millions of people coming to you every day and you
sure.
move their cheese, they can get annoyed. So we do this very thoughtfully and very deliberately to ensure that we're kind of bringing people along for the journey. So I'm really excited to keep moving forward with that innovation. And listen, we're going to get some things right. We're going to get some things wrong. So I actually get very excited by listening to our customers and hearing what they're interested in and what they're craving, and continuing to innovate with the team. And yeah, on a personal note, some travel in store too.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for joining and going out on a limb a little bit, being here live, but much appreciated and so interesting, so insightful. I can't wait to check out the new app as well as watch your journey continue. Thanks, Randy.
Thanks so much, Evan.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching.